I am so excited to be here with you today. We all know that acronym KISS, KISS, which is keep it simple, sweetheart. And of course, that's going to help us deal with our lives and deal with the overwhelm. But what about when you're empathic and you already feel that just your daily life can be overwhelming? Welcome, everyone. I'm Dr. Marcia Martin, the heart healer, and today the angels want to share with you how you can simplify your life, still get maximum benefit from everything that you're doing, and that includes enjoyment, but yet not feel so overwhelmed by living life as an empathic or highly sensitive being. So let's get started on all that we can do as empathic beings instead of looking at life from everything that you can't do. So, what does simple look like to an empath? And how is it going to apply to every area of your life? I find it so important that we don't just focus on our spiritual life, but we remember that we are physical beings and we need to really pay attention to the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body, and the spiritual body. And then, of course, we want to know who in the angelic energetic realm is going to be able to help us simplify our life on a regular basis. It's not okay to feel overwhelmed or to feel that you are constantly running in place, trying just to catch up with a life that will finally feel good. And I just read a study that said that so many people today are feeling that they never have enough time and they never have enough money. So let's look at how you can get more of both. So, first of all, what is simple to an empath? Well, it's not decluttering. I know that there is a big desire for everyone to declutter your lifestyle, and that is fabulous if that's your problem. But you may have already gotten rid of all of the extraneous things just because you can't deal with one more thing, and yet still feel completely overwhelmed. So, what can you do? The first thing that you've got to remember is that you cannot put on and take off your gift of empathy. You have to understand you're going to live with it 24 hours a day, but it was a choice that you made. You chose to come here and to be an early awakener and to get on this ascension journey because you thought it was going to give you, and I think it does, the most valuable, the most rewarding, and the most expanding life that you can possibly have. So that means you've got to take some precautions. And the first thing you've got to always do is to prepare. If you are going out somewhere, if you are going to work, going into a meeting, going out socially, going into a situation where you're going to interact with other people, you cannot go out and be wide open energetically unless you have reached a place of such ascension that you are always walking in the heavenly state of love, joy, and peace. Then you will have raised your vibration so much that all of the world's vibration, that sort of lower energy, the humming of negativity, won't affect you at all. But until you get there, make sure, because most of us spend time sort of in the middle ground, we can spend time up here in that heavenly vibration of love, joy, and peace. But we also spend time down here in the place of anxiety or depression or whatever negative emotion we might end up attracting at that time. So most of us are going up and down the ladder and spend the majority of our time sort of in the middle. But in the middle, you are still vulnerable to negativity. Therefore, you need to prepare by shielding. Those of you who are with me in my spiritual community, there is a fabulous shielding technique there, clearing and shielding on Rainbow Island. Once you learn it, it's only going to take you a minute to make sure that you're going out fully purified and shielded instead of wide open to be the sponge for all of the problems in the world. Being empathic also means not saying yes to every fad. So the decluttering fad came along, and you may have felt that, oh my gosh, this is going to change everything for me. And it is not a bad thing, and it has incredible value. But you cannot get everything out of the way and just leave yourself empty. No matter what, you must remember you are empathic and you must shield. So you don't want to live with piles of junk and disorganized thinking and just a disorganized space. But that doesn't mean that you can then just forget all about the shielding. So make sure that even though your attempt to simplify your life may include getting rid of the junk, it's not going to exclude the most important part, which is to make sure that you are not able to receive the negativity, the sorrow, sometimes the depression and the anxiety of others in the world. And this is not because you're better than everyone else or you don't care about anyone else. This is because you, as a sensitive being, can be easily manipulated through your emotions if you're not paying attention. So you're in this nice place, you're feeling good, you're able to really give from your heart, but you're wide open. Uh-oh. Well, that means if somebody that's having a bad day comes along, they can pull you right into your storm. I'm sorry, into their storm, and then you are no longer gifting to the world your love and peace and joy. You are broadcasting their pain, their confusion, and whatever else you may have picked up from them. So remember, you are very good at broadcasting as an empathic being. So you don't want to be broadcasting someone else's pain or even your own. Instead, you need to make sure that this vehicle is feeling good and is at the highest vibration possible for wherever you are, and that you have protected yourself through shielding. So simple as establishing a life that's going to feel good to you, is manageable. So you're not going to say yes to everyone, has low stress and high reward. If you are in a job or in a relationship or doing anything where you are constantly putting yourself in a high stress situation for someone else's benefit, it's a good time to review that relationship and see if it's really honoring you. Empathy is going to make you vulnerable if you allow it. However, it is your superpower. Just don't let it become your super problem. So, have a shielding routine that you use regularly. Just plan on putting your shield in place as you get out of bed, and then continue to put your shield in place throughout the day. And also remember that as a beautifully empathic being, you are going to need time to yourself. And if you don't get it, you're going to become even more vulnerable, even more worn, and again, less able to give your gift of empathy to yourself and to the world. So it's okay to say no. But be prepared in advance with what you're going to say. If you just constantly are saying, well, I'll handle that when I get there, people are going to be able to use your deep desire to please and to make them feel good to get you to do things that you don't want to do. So if you know you're not going to want to do something, know how you're going to say no thank you to the offer. So now let's look at simplifying your life and building strength. You, as an empathic being, are already incredibly strong. So let's make sure you get to keep that strength. A simple routine will be so much easier than if you overcomplicate things by setting the bar way too high or not honoring yourself when you've reached basic goals. So, do a routine that is easy for you. That doesn't mean that it can't have a lot of moving pieces. Remember, I told you the story about the breathing technique that I found just made, made me crazy. I couldn't relax into the method because I was too busy concentrating on what am I supposed to do next? Is it this nostril? Is it this finger? It, it was too many moving parts for me. However, I have a friend who has ADHD, and for them, it gave them so much to think about that they could relax. So the routine has to be in alignment with your personality, your limitations, what feels good to you. And you want your life to be something that you look forward to, not something that you just endure. And that may mean making adjustments, changing jobs, changing friends, changing even where you live so that you can feel like, wow, I've made great choices instead of as if you're just enduring. So let's look at how you can support your physical body. Certainly, when we feel better physically, we can operate more easily. You're going to need, now, this is really, really important because you are ascending. You chose to be an early awakener. That comes with more responsibility than when you're just kind of letting everyone else lead the way for you. So, this is going to mean on your ascension journey, high quality food. You may be noticing that you are not getting the same value out of the food that you were eating. You got to upgrade the quality. You can cook it, you can freeze it, you can season it. But eating a lot of processed food or food that has synthetic ingredients in terms of seasoning, very difficult to digest. And the more we are ascending, the more the body is really purifying itself and can't work with those ingredients. And, the example they gave me is something like Doritos. They taste great, but all of that flavoring is not normally occurring. So you've got to look for food where you can get that flavor burst that you may want, but the flavor, the spices are naturally occurring instead of lab produced. Eat fresh when you can. We understand you can't always, but you want to eat those products that don't have shelf stabilizers in them. Eat from as close to the ground as you can, which means fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, your beef, poultry, pork, whatever you choose to eat or not eat, just make it as fresh and high quality as you can. Now let's look at drinking. For drinking, you must add in some good water. Sodas are not going to cut it. Even fruit juice is not equal to spring water that is really high quality. Nothing is going to replace water. You can have some of the other things in moderation, but water is what you're going to be needing to ingest more than anything else. It completely flushes your system and allows your entire body to function more harmoniously. And you need to drink a good amount. One glass is just not going to do it. And even those products, they're uh, pointing this out to me that they mentioned this like Soda Stream. That is not a water substitute. You can add some lime or some fruit, watermelon, lemon, something like that. But anything where you're completely altering, no, that's not water. It's not going to be able to do the same work that you wanted it to do. And you are going to have to limit your liquor. Liquor gets in between you and the divine, and it may create a false narrative. It causes interference in the body's ability to function. So make sure you limit. And if you do have liquor, you are going to need to help the body process it with a lot of water. Even if you don't have the water at the time, maybe the next day, make sure that you are really flooding your body with plenty of water. And the more finely attuned the body, the more it will need to purify. I'm not talking about fasting or any of these regimes. You have to decide whether that's right for you. I'm saying, as a general lifestyle, you will notice that your body is going to be calling for things that you may not have needed before. And it doesn't have anything to do with age. This is simply an awareness. This isn't a part of your ascension journey. What happens is, if you have a lot of lab produced chemicals in your body, it dulls your ability to connect and hear the divine. And they are your most fabulous helpers, your greatest attribute. So you don't want to dull down your senses. And we have to remember too, if we are having a lot of fast food, that food just doesn't have the quality that a farmer's market or a butcher shop or a better store would have. Now, of course, you're going to have to adjust to your budget, but I think you'll find that you need less high quality food than you needed of the low quality food. So you shouldn't notice much of a change in terms of what you have to spend for food. Good nutrition is just going to support your sensitive self better than anything else. So rather than just feel like, oh my gosh, this is such a burden to be empathic, learn how to support yourself. Your body should be getting stronger as you ascend and release the pain and trauma. So if you are not noticing that you physically feel better, then start looking at the food. Maybe you need to change the food that you are ingesting. But the heart healing work that I talk about with you so often really has the added benefit of strengthening all of the bodies, including the physical body. Which brings us to the next thing, which is physical exercise. Now, I know for myself, man, they told me in no uncertain terms, it's time for weight bearing exercises. cannot continue doing the same amount of exercise. I had to intensify it much more, and it has given me greater mental clarity, greater endurance, and just a greater sense of well being. We are getting better functioning bodies. That means we've got to really work with that body and make sure it's got the muscle it needs to support itself. You also may need additional sleep. We are almost returning to our state as infants. We're ascending into this new way of being. Make sure that you're getting the sleep that you need so that you truly can process all of this, continue to ascend, and still feel great and be mentally clear. You got to renew from the daily life, not just from being an empath, but because you're ascending. And so now let's look at mental simplification. How can we get all of this stuff that's going on in our minds to just kind of quiet down and support us instead of making us feel like we have so much going on that we can't truly get a hold of any of it? Well, the first thing is to watch what you watch. We need to really be careful that we are not inputting a lot of news that is negative or news that is frightening or news, and it doesn't, I don't mean just the news, I mean any information. Perhaps information would be a better word. Any information that is going to put you into a place where you become fearful, where you feel overwhelmed, where you feel hopeless, where you feel for whatever reason that you are not worthy or not good enough. Watch all of that input. You do not need to consume that. Yes, we live in a high consumer society where we can, if we choose, consume something 24 hours a day. Just be sure that you are only engaging with that which is uplifting and supporting and educating you, or um, making you laugh. The heavy duty stuff, take that in small doses. And you're going to find that you may also, as an empathic being, want to compartmentalize things. And that could have worked for you in the past. You might have said, okay, well, I can deal with this and put it over in this corner. But it is going to become a burden that is too heavy for you to carry around, especially those of you who have chosen to ascend. You've got to do the work to clear and heal and stop allowing this stuff to get in there and take up residence. You're just going to have to really be more alert. And I also want you to carefully choose your activities. You cannot always, even though you may want to, you cannot always be saving the world. You got to choose some feel good activities, some things that you really want to do, and people around you that are going to be really uplifting and guiding and supporting you in beautiful ways. You want to be around the happies rather than the grumpies or the complainers. We're all going to interact with the complainers at some point, but you got to balance them out with the happies. You also want to keep your mind active. You will notice that you've got probably the feeling that you can process much more information more quickly. And if you don't take advantage of that by filling your mind with lots of really helpful information or asking your brain to do more work, it can make you feel a little uncomfortable. And you may not know why. Just kind of feeling, something's wrong. Just like your physical body needed more exercise, your brain's going to need more exercise. It too is improving. So give it more exercise, keep it active so it won't get you into trouble. Deliberately find purposeful thoughts, stretch your mind, and learn new things. That doesn't sound like it's going to simplify your life, but when your brain and your body, when your brain and your body are feeling really healthy and happy, your life becomes so much clearer, so much cleaner, and so much less overwhelming. So now let's go to simplifying the emotional. And that is, you need to begin analyzing your thought patterns. I don't want you to be reacting. Rather, I would like you to choose your reaction. So let's say somebody comes to me and they're very angry and they're shouting about something. Well, if I'm not well shielded, if I have left my physical body just get ugh, and my mental thoughts are running all over the place, I may want to react. I won't be able to control my emotions. I'm feeling so bad on so many different levels that if you're yelling at me, I might just want to yell back. That's not going to solve the problem. But if I have done the work to make all of me feel better, and I am aware of how I am reacting emotionally, and I am choosing how I get to react, then I can just listen to you and say, gosh, I'm sorry you're feeling that way. I just can't help you with that. That's, or however you want to respond. Or they're yelling, you're stupid, you did this and that and whatever. You can say, I'm sorry you're feeling that way. That's just not true. Why don't you take a moment to get yourself settled? And when you're calm, we can discuss this. They're not going to like that, but you're going to feel great. So don't be surprised that they come back to you yelling even louder, because how dare you not support them in their emotional tantrum? Good for you. Why should you support another adult in being a child? Let them work through that tantrum by themselves, and they can come back to see you when they're ready to be an adult. So, you don't want to react, you want to be proactive, and you want to turn your thoughts away from that doom and gloom scenario so that you can be in this present moment and choosing who and what you interact with and how your day unfolds. We have a much more control than we give ourselves credit for. And when you recognize just how much of the creator you are as opposed to the world, you will be delighted to choose that which feels good to you, because it's going to bring back to you things that feel wonderful. So let's just look at this as an analogy that may help you understand. Words are like the body of the car. Thoughts are the gas pedal, but your emotions decide whether that gas pedal gets pressed and whether you have any fuel in your fuel tank in order to move your car forward. So, if you are constantly watching your words, but you emotionally are feeling completely overwhelmed, distressed, angry, hurt, whatever it might be, the words are going to sound pretty, perhaps coming out of your mouth, but they're not going to move you anywhere. You need to make sure that emotionally you are feeling in alignment with the words that you are speaking, and then speak life into your life by choosing words that feel good, that uplift, that support, that inspire. And now I want us to remember that most empathic beings have a history of pain and trauma. So let's take a look at how that is interfering with you living a simplified life, which, and by the way, a simplified life is not you live in the country and you ride a horse. A simplified life is the life that honors every aspect of your being in a way that feels good to you, whether or not it aligns with anyone else's idea. But pain and trauma are complicators. They cause roadblocks, they create doubt and fear, and they move you away from your divine connection and support the illusion that you should be afraid, anxious, worried, that you're alone, or that you have no value. They support that wrongness narrative. Now, one of the ways that you can really impact this in a positive way is through your spiritual practice. So, let's look at how you can, no matter what you are choosing to use as your spiritual practice, let's look at some of the basic foundational principles that will help you live that really strong, supported life. One, one base truth: you are safe and loved, and that you are being guided through this life. You did not get thrown in here and just left to your own devices. Safe means you can make good choices. You are an intelligent being and you have everything you need to succeed. Loved, you are not afraid of rejection, loneliness, and you know you have a place in the world. So if you put your whole practice on that premise, I am safe and loved, no matter how you define spirituality or what your practice might look like. I am safe and loved. Safe, you can explore, you can try new things, you can do your best without fearing reprisal, and you can fail on occasion. You can also win on many, many occasions. Now, loved, if we all want to be loved. Perhaps it didn't happen in your family of origin. Perhaps you got into a partnership, a relationship that didn't feel good. You are always loved by the divine. So it is okay for you to be you, for you to love you, and for you to expect to be loved in return. Use that one tenet as your base for everything else, and create the spiritual practice that's going to work for you. No hard and fast rules. Allow yourself to explore and to expand, and for your practice to grow with you. No taboos. Please stop with all these superstitions, or I if I don't cross myself, the world is going to end. If that is something that feels good to you, do it. But please don't do it because you have a belief system that says, I'm not good unless I do this thing. Just let yourself be good. And all of these other things can add value if you feel you need them. And you also have no need to prove anything. You are not going to be loved by the divine if you go to church or perform a spiritual or religious practice every day or once in your lifetime. You are already loved as much as you can possibly be loved. All of this other stuff you are doing for your own expansion and for your own well being. The healed heart will help you bring no hurt or harm to yourself or another person. It's going to help you enhance your journey in every way. Now, I am going to remind you that you want to incorporate some daily practice of connection with the divine, whichever thing works for you, but allow it to be within the time frame that you currently have. It should be daily, it should be some sort of quiet time, meditative time. It should be a way for you to receive from the divine, but it can be as complicated or simple as you need it to be, and it must be satisfying. Now, remember, because it's not set in stone, you can make it bigger or smaller, whichever works for you. You just have to remember that it's your practice and not something that someone else has to give to you. So let's get you a helper that can help your life be simple and remain simple. And I've got to tell you, the helper that showed up is Saint Peter. And the reason that I just love the fact that St. Peter is going to be our support in learning to simplify our lives and live lives that we expect to feel good instead of lives that are really troubling is because St. Peter viewed himself as nothing more than a fisherman. And Jesus looked at him, saw his magnificence, and said to him, "You are the rock, the foundation upon which I will build my church." He saw in this simple person so much faith, so much trust, so much belief that he knew that this would be a good model for others to follow. So let's take a look at the characteristics of St. Peter and what they mean. He was a fisherman, and he's quoted as saying, "But if you say so," to Jesus about where he should put his nets. That's trust. He was channeling that divine so beautifully that he was able to trust. He knew the truth of the being that had come here to share this beautiful new understanding about the divine. He is also quoted as saying, "You have the words that give eternal life." He's got faith in this way of living and being and thinking and doing that he is adopting. He has belief. He saw Jesus in his heavenly form and believed. He isn't filled with doubt and fear and uncertainty. Even if he had been in his normal life before he became a disciple, he was able to let go of all that and develop trust, faith, and belief. And Peter's advice to you is add goodness to your faith, add knowledge to your goodness, add self control to your knowledge, add can't read my writing. Oh, add endurance to your self control. Add godliness to your endurance. Add brotherly love to your godliness. And add love to your brotherly love. So, do you see how he's building for you a beautiful foundation that's just going to help you rise and rise and rise and finish you in the place of love? So let's look at that one more time. Add goodness to your faith. You don't want to just have hollow faith. You want to have faith that uplifts you and everyone around you. Add knowledge to your goodness. Know what you're talking about so your foundation will be solid. Add self control to your knowledge. You don't have to share what you know with everyone, especially if it would be offensive to the person for where they are now. Add endurance to your self control. This is what we talked about. You are on an ascension journey. You are becoming a stronger being. Support that stronger being with good endurance practices. That physical fitness, the better food, the better sleep, the better water. Add godliness to your endurance. Recognize who you are. You are a child of the Most High God. You are a part of the divine. You are divine. Add brotherly love to godliness. Be a good friend. Be a kind, supporting, loving individual to everyone you meet. Share a smile. Share a kind word. And then add love to your brotherly love. Add in unconditional love. We don't need to judge. We need to be kind and loving and accepting to everyone we meet because we have no idea what they may be going through and how we can support them in having a better day and ultimately a better life. So, thanks all of you for being here. Just allow yourself to live the life that feels best to you. Remember that you are so worthy. And in the comments, I have this opportunity to join our Healing Hearts Facebook group. Please do. And take advantage of the other people who are sharing their wisdom or add your wisdom. And Sirius, you're so welcome. And there was one other thing that I wanted to share with you. During my dissertation research, I read so much. Anybody that wanted to share anything about the heart, anything about the divine connection, anything about the ideals of the Jesus ministry, not the person, but the Christ consciousness, I was going to read it. And one of those beings is Florence Scovel Shinn, and she's quite well known in law of attraction circles. But I want to read this to you. This is an affirmation card by Marie Haddad that is adapted from Florence Scovel Shinn's book, The Game of Life. What I love most about these authors from the late 1800s is that they had rock solid faith. They did not get off on these crazy tangents. They just had rock solid faith. And so this card says, in divine mind, there is only completion. Just take a moment and build your spiritual practice on that truth. In divine mind, there is only completion. Therefore, my demonstration is completed. My perfect work, my perfect health, my perfect home, my perfect love. Your evidence, your life is complete when you can step over from the place of disorganized and discombobulated into the place of divine mind, and you recognize everything you need is already here and has already been done for you. In divine mind is only completion. They don't have a whole lot of loose ends. There are no question marks hanging around their brain. In divine mind, there is only completion. Therefore, my demonstration is completed. My perfect work, my perfect health, my perfect home, my perfect love. Be complete. Know you are perfect and align with the divine. Thanks so much. I love you all. And I'll see you next week. Love to you both, Audrey and Sirius, and everyone else who is here. But I don't know you're here because you're not in the comments. Love to you all. Bye.